Hello, hello, hello out there in internet land. It's your favorite misanthrope and overeater. It's Fat and Angry. He's fat and I'm angry. Today we're going to talk about a subject that I'm occasionally interested in and something that Fat is a lot more knowledgeable about me on. So hopefully we'll hear a lot more of him than me on this one for a change. But don't worry, probably got lots of my two bits to throw at him. Today we're going to be talking about cryptids. Explain what that means.
All right. Well, cryptozoology is a kind of a mocked scientific field. Basically, it's the investigation of creatures that we don't have any real scientific proof of. It's not saying that we don't have proof, just not stuff that's validated by scientists and their fancy lab coats. Now, when I was younger, I was heavily into cryptozoology, but as time has passed and science gets much better at their jobs, the joy and wonder of monsters waiting in the shadows to eat people is sadly fading away. As I like to say, science took my Sasquatch away.
Just tore it from your hands. Just kicked in your front door with armed officers, found you hiding in your closet, and tore it out of your sad hands.
Indeed.
If you're old enough, you'll understand that reference.
Um, anyway, basically, some of the more famous ones we're going to go over. Some of them might be obscure to you if you're not interested in this sort of thing. But if you have put any sort of effort into studying cryptozoology, then you'll probably know everything we're talking about.
I mean, even if you don't know shit about cryptids at all, you've heard about these things. Well, at least some of them. Like, just like, God, you want to talk about the Sasquatch? Like, how many fucking shows have made an episode about the Sasquatch or Bigfoot or, the snow variation, the Yeti, or the abominable snowman?
Yeah, basically, there is something of a Sasquatch in every single culture. Um, and a lot of scientists think it's some sort of like primal need for man to connect with nature. Why there's so many different types of Sasquatch legends. For those of you not familiar with Sasquatch, basically it's a giant ape man of some sort. Couple of things that are attributed to them. They usually have a very odorous smell. Um, it's believed they participate in wood knocking, which is essentially when primates beat wood against trees or other hard objects to signal each other.
Or just because they fucking hate trees.
Yeah, and that they are very elusive. Now, one of the first major sightings of sorts in America took place in an area called Bluff Creek, where they found the footprints. And the reason they call them Bigfoot is because a lot of these footprints were nearly 2 feet long. Sadly, the Bluff Creek incident, that has been, in fact, determined a hoax. What happened is, I believe it was the foreman of these iron workers, decided he wanted to play a joke, showed up early morning, and made some footprints, just having these carved wooden feet at the bottom of his shoes. And the reason they were able to determine that these are in fact fraudulent is one day he came forward and even still had the shoes, which were comparable to the prints.
What, like they couldn't just tell, that something with feet this big would have to be yay high and this heavy, and like you didn't put enough of an indention in the ground? Unless he was just like a morbidly obese foreman.
If I remember correctly, he was a pretty skinny guy, but this was also a long time ago, so.
Maybe they didn't think about that back then.
Yeah. The other really famous incident is known as the Patterson-Gimli film. And for a long time, this was basically the film that wouldn't go away.
That's still a reference today. I'm pretty sure most people have seen it.
Yeah. This is the famous shot of Bigfoot walking through the forest, turning and looking at the camera, and then continuing to walk off. It's maybe about 15 seconds of footage, but one of the big problems that a lot of people had, like arguing it, was that science was not able to recreate the scene on film with known costumes at the time. But there's actually been a lot of study into it, and one of the things they found is with that type of camera, how close they actually were to the creature in question. A wild animal like that isn't going to let you get that close. They were basically about 10 feet away. And also, there's just nothing scientific on the film that really tells you anything. You see the creature. But one of the things science has basically beaten the hope out of me for, because I believed in Sasquatch for a very long time, is just to be able to maintain a breeding population in the kind of area that great apes like that have. It couldn't live in these areas. It just couldn't. And so, science took my Sasquatch away.
Well, that's just like the North American, like Bigfoot.
Yeah, but like in a lot of the areas where they suppose, skunk apes, yowie, all that stuff, it's just not a viable area for them.
Yeah, you wouldn't really see like, abominable snowmen or a yeti. It's like, well, because we all know just how much food there is in the mountains to support a population of yeti.
There's a couple like temples, I think in Thailand and Beijing, where they supposedly have yeti parts, and they've done tests on them, and they're just human taxidermy.
Like, it could have just been like, like a really big dude.
Yeah, and even like the footprints they find in the snow, there's monks known to walk barefoot in that area, and basically, like as the sun melts the snow, the footprints expand, so that's how they get as big as they do.
Damn you, science, ruining all our hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And replacing them with cold, hard facts.
No, I'm pretty sure that, like, in some places in Africa or the Amazon, where we literally haven't discovered everything about these deep jungles, there's probably some kinds of primates that we haven't discovered. I doubt they'll be of Sasquatchian proportions, but...
Well, I've heard some people say that, like, Sasquatch and Bigfoots and, like, abominable snowmen and all that stuff could conceivably be, descendants of Neanderthals that were wiped out by Homo sapiens, which is why, like, we are people descended from Homo sapiens and not descended from, Neanderthal.
That's one theory. There's also theories that they're relic populations of Gigantopithecus, which is a prehistoric ape. But just again, there's not a viable scientific explanation of how a population like that can exist in those areas.
Well, we've still gotten a lot from them. I mean, we got a monster truck out of it. We've gotten a lot of interesting episodes of, like, famous TV shows. We got Jack's Beef Jerky ad campaign.
Those are important commercials. I enjoy every one of them.
That is one pissed off looking Sasquatch.
In this world, you either run with Sasquatch or run from Sasquatch.
And also, who doesn't like beef jerky?
I run with Sasquatch.
Then we also got Harry and the Hendersons, which was a fun movie way back in the day.
Yeah. And that started his career as a costumed character, which led to the Predator film. So, Sasquatch is awesome. You got the Predator.
And we did have that discussion about Predator now, didn't we?
Yes.
If I can just make sure to post these things in some sort of chronological order. Which reminds me, I forgot to post the date on this thing. It is the last day of June of 2018, June the 30th.
Soon there will be 4th of July, and hopefully we'll get to buy explosives and set them off in dangerous city limits.
Or outside, police are listening. It's like, I do know of a couple of good places outside of city limits, but those fuckers are going to put like a goddamn fireworks ban like the day before. They love doing that. They've even said they love doing it, not because they love killing the holiday, but because they get like most of their tax money from all the goddamn fees that they charge people, like in fines, for like trying to set off fireworks.
And when they confiscate the fireworks, they just take them to their family when their shift is over.
Yeah, or they go take them to a place and like all the fucking police officers pop them off. It's like, it's not a fucking conspiracy. Like, we've had a lot of police officers.
Oh, they admit it. Yeah.
They admit it because they know they ain't shit you can do about it. It's like, what are you going to do? Call the police?
I'll call my local milkman, tell him to take a shit in your milk. Oh, wait. We don't have the milkman anymore either. Science took him away. Along with the Sasquatch. Fucking science.
Sasquatch, or at least he's got his milk wherever he is. And fucking science limbo.
Milk and beef jerky. That's all he needs. And my love. I love you, Sasquatch.
Alright, well that's the Sasquatch. What's the next one?
Well, another popular one, I'm sure everyone's heard of it, the Loch Ness Monster, which the most common theory is believed it's either multiple sightings of a relic plesiosaur population or Catiosaurus, which is basically a thing science has said, fuck you, it ain't real. It's some sort of reptilian eel tube monster that is completely unviable in an evolutionary sense. It didn't happen.
Yeah, like, I swear to God, it's like, I've heard a lot of comedians talk about this. Like, the people who, like, watch those, like, Loch Ness, like, reveal TV shows. It's like, we're going to put on the History Channel or the Discovery Channel, and it's like, like, finding the Loch Ness Monster.
We are going to search the whole lake.
And, like, it's bullshit, because I'll tell you what, if they fucking found the monster,
it'd be on the fucking news.
Yeah, you would have heard of it on the news well before they put in all the editing for the episode. They brought the film back. They put a fucking soundtrack to it. They got a narrator for it. They had in all the special effects and shit, and then put it on like the fucking Science or History or Discovery Channel.
Yeah, it'd be old news by the time David Attenborough was talking about it.
Yeah, fucking seriously, it's like, oh yeah, we managed to keep the whole story silent until we got it on the Discovery Channel. Yeah, I fucking bet you did.
And so, what did you find? Well, there was this tree log and an old tire.
Who the fuck's dumping logs out there? Is there like a shadow logging industry that they're just not telling us about?
I imagine it's just old trees that fell and, nobody bothered to fish them out, so eventually they sink. But, yeah.
Like someone needs to dredge that fucking thing. It's like, well, we found another tree log. Just get the fucking logs out. Get all the goddamn logs out. Just get them all out. When you find a log, you take it out. You don't fucking put it back. You're just dicking around for the next crew. I know you think it's fucking job security, you asshats, but you need to stop it.
And don't, give me an hour and a half special on you finding a fucking log. This is like, I can go outside and see a tree, right? It ain't that fucking exciting. Maybe if you live out in the middle of the fucking desert or in the middle of the fucking Arctic, but I don't want to watch an hour and a half of a show of them dicking around, waiting to get the good part. Oh, we found a fucking tree!
In the bottom of a lake. Well, like, back in ancient times, this all used to be forest. It's like, oh, I fucking bet.
At least, like, put a new species of fish. It doesn't have to be anything exciting. It could be, fucking yellow trout for all I care. But
that'd be interesting if, like, every time they did one of those specials, they had to bring in, like, an invasive fish species. And it would just become, like, this fucking lake that's like a goddamn aquarium. It's like, it is like fucking Galapagos Island for fish. We just put in random fish here, and like only the strongest survive.
Right, you know.
Like after a couple of years, you start seeing like fish walking out. It's like, ooh, this was a bad idea.
It survived the logs.
It survived, like, the fucking Thunderdome that is like the lake that we created.
Yeah, and it's especially annoying when they do specials on the Loch Ness because long ago the guy who took the photo admitted it. He explained how he did it and the reason that he did it. He got fired because he couldn't actually find a picture of the monster because there was no fucking monster. So he took one of his son's dinosaur toys, cut it in half, and stuck it on a toy submarine. You could even see the string in enhanced photos where they were dragging the submarine along. It's done. It's over. There ain't no fucking Loch Ness. The idea of a plesiosaur existing in the modern times is basically impossible because the molecules and atmosphere of the ocean and bacteria and all that were completely different. And the thing would fucking choke to death on our modern water supply.
Well, unless like it had somehow managed to evolve over time to be able to survive in fresh water, like that thing did.
But
or wood.
Yeah. Also, one thing scientists have actually explained is a plesiosaur couldn't lift its neck the way you commonly see those famous Nessie photos. It can't do like the whole swan thing. It has to keep its head pretty damn straight. It can bob it up and down, but it can't really curve.
I imagine, like, that fucking thing would be heavy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm surprised. I was like, I guess like you wouldn't get that with a body, but some time ago, my dad told me that when he was a kid, it was not uncommon that when the storm drains around here, another fucking lovely thing about being in South Texas, when the storm drains here would fill with water during rainstorms, that it wasn't uncommon to see water moccasins or cottonmouth snakes fucking around in the water. And I says, oh, so how do you mean? Like you'd see them going across the surface of the water? He says, oh no, they dance. I'm like, what the fuck you mean dance? It says, oh, like, the snakes, they would like, they would rise up from the water and they would like dance around each other. He says, well, how you mean? And so he makes like a motion with his arm of like a snake like standing upright. It's like, you mean to tell me that this is a cottonmouth snake? Like if it bites you, it's your fucking ass. You are done, son. There's a reason why they make reference to that in Kill Bill. Because if it bites you, you are really fucking not okay. It's like this thing would like get up. Like it had enough of its body in the water that it could lift itself.
Like a cobra with a snake charmer?
Yeah, like that. Like, like just like imagine an old fucking cartoon with like a cobra where like it rears up out of like a basket. It says these things would come up like a good 4 to 6 feet in the air and they could jump from the water. It says they could jump out really far. And I'm like, you know what? If that was the case nowadays, if there was a rainstorm, I would not leave my fucking house for until all that water was fucking gone. Because fuck all of that. I do not need that in my life. I don't need a highly venomous fucking snake dancing around in an irrigation ditch near my house that can jump out and get me. Okay? Fuck that noise. Seriously. But it's like if the picture that they have of Loch Ness, and everyone's fucking seen that picture. If you haven't seen the fucking picture, go on to Google Images.
Just Google Loch Ness will be the first 8 fucking images.
It's like you see it there. I think there's like a body in the thing, so there's a body. So it couldn't be just a snake, like fucking doing the water moccasin thing. Yeah. And by the way, why would you call it a water moccasin? Is like, to my understanding, a moccasin is a kind of shoe. So like when I think of water shoe, I don't think of like a snake that will fuck my shit up. Okay.
My dad told me about an experience he had with a water moccasin once. Him and his friends were basically swinging off a rope swing on a tree into the lake.
Oh, I can only imagine where this fucking story's going.
Yeah, well, he was climbing the tree, and there was like a hole in the tree that he was putting his hand in, and ended up grabbing a water moccasin that was hanging out in there and chucked it as fast as he fucking could, saying he saw that white mouth right in front of his eyes.
It's like, man, it's like, if you were lucky, you'd speedballed that thing like the Flash throwing a goddamn
Well, he
pitch.
he didn't get bit, but his friends decided to stop swimming.
It's like, you know what, this is a lake that I do not need to be associated with anymore.
Yeah, he actually took me to that lake, and he was able
Did you? So what, was he trying to fucking get you dead? And I was like, what the fuck was that about?
he was actually able to even point out the tree.
It's like, why don't you go up there, son? Why don't you just stick your whole fucking face in there? Sure, Dad, that seems like a good idea.
Bog beast!
So, yeah, now I remember recently I heard about yet another fucking TV special that they were doing on the Loch Ness. And this was recent. I remember seeing some pictures and stuff that some people had posted in jest online a couple of weeks ago, where they were going to be doing DNA tests in the loch to see if they could find evidence of the monster through DNA. And of course, the first thing that pops into my dumbass brain is like, don't you need to actually get a sample of the thing before you can check its DNA? It's like, we can't find the monster, so we're going to check the monster's DNA to see if it's there. Uh-huh. Yeah, that sounds like it'll work.
I guess they could like find DNA that they don't recognize, but
yeah, I think that's what someone explained, because like I posted something to that effect on there, and someone responded to me as like, well, they're going to check like DNA traces, because like if something's in the water, you're going to find traces of it. You're going to find saliva, excrement, urine. I guess that'd be considered excrement. Dead skin cells, deteriorated fatty tissue. You're going to find lots of traces of different creatures in there by their DNA. The DNA degrades over time, but if this thing's there, then there should be, just like, look for something. If you can't recognize it as something that is going to be in this lake, then that's going to raise some eyebrows. Now, I don't know what the result of that is, but considering that we haven't seen anything on the news about like Loch Ness found, I'm assuming they found jack and shit.
Yeah, but they'll probably like have some DNA that degraded, so they can't recognize it as the creature it was.
Dino DNA. Fucking Mr. DNA shows up. It's like, oh great.
We found this. It's consistent with trout, except it's missing half the genome. So maybe.
It's like a new kind of trout. It's like it's a smallmouth bass or some shit.
A yellow trout.
It's like, no one wants to talk about like the fucking key grip of the filming team that just like hucked this damn fish in there so that they could get some questionable DNA hits on the scan.
Yeah.
All right, that's 2 down. What's the third one?
Let's talk about Moth Man.
All right, this one I'm not familiar with, so fill me in on this one.
All right. Basically, the first report that I know of were these teenagers driving in a car, saw something they couldn't explain. One of the key features that they talk about is the glowing red eyes. Now, I forget the name of the city, but there's an area that they call the TNT area, and that's basically a military installation where they used to store bombs. And so, once sightings of this thing started to spread, a lot of people thought it was like either some sort of mutation from the military weapons or some sort of government experiment. And there was actually quite a bit of like widespread panic and lots of sightings. And they basically stopped when a bridge in the city called the Silver Bridge collapsed. Now, the story goes that there were a lot of Mothman sightings around the bridge days before it collapsed. And so some people treat the Mothman as though it's some sort of omen, showing like signs of doom. The scientific explanation is they think they saw a great horned owl and just didn't know what it was. They got the size proportions wrong. they have shown how the silhouette of this owl actually lines up with a lot of the descriptions of the Mothman, and they have the glowing red eyes.
I've never seen an owl with glowing eyes. Maybe like if the light hit it just right or wrong or something.
There's actually quite a few owl species. Their eyes will turn red in total darkness, so...
Creepy.
Yeah.
There's got to be some big ass owl for people to suggest it might be like a man-sized thing.
Now, even like with the studying I've done in cryptozoology and the multiple things I have believed before, this is one that never really struck me as real. But the city believed in it for quite a while, at least. It would seem there was quite the panic about it. There's even a statue commemorating the sightings in the city.
Just a bronze statue of like a couple of drunk kids pointing off in the distance.
Well, it's one of the theories of how the Mothman might look. It kind of looks like something Godzilla would fight, but...
Well, Godzilla did deal with Mothra a couple of times.
Indeed.
There's no way I would consider Mothra to be like a moth man. That's just a straight up moth.
Yeah, the best way I could describe it is kind of like it's got a head similar to a prairie mantis, Swiss cheese for wings, and like a sort of robotic turtle body. So, the silver...
Like fucking Chrome Dome from the Ninja Turtles?
Well, the silver they use to make the statue makes it look robotic. But yeah, it looks like something Godzilla would face after chewing on Mechazilla for a few rounds.
It's like, now,
Mecha Mothra.
I have seen a picture online. I don't know if it was of that thing, but it was a picture that someone had taken it around sunset or early in the morning. I don't know exactly what fucking direction this picture was in when they took it. And it's of a tree, and in the tree you can see that in one of the darker areas of the tree there is a pair of very small, red, very bright red dots that look like eyes. But these things look way too fucking small to be like, to be like owl eyes. Unless that was a very small owl with very fucking bright eyes. I mean, these eyes look like a couple of like laser pointers aimed at the camera. Now that could be literally what it was, just some jackass like hiding in a dark part of a tree pointing two laser pointers at the camera. I don't fucking know, but that's a creepy ass looking picture. And I imagine if I saw that, I would start walking back from whence I came, because I don't need to deal with that shit.
Yeah. Oh, like when you're scared of something, it's kind of hard to pick up all the details. I remember I was walking to go visit my girlfriend while she was at work, and I just felt really uncomfortable in the street. And I looked around, and in this tree, I saw something that, quite frankly, looked like a demon. And so I picked up my pace. And the next day, I decided to go see what the hell it was. And it was some sort of Hispanic folk arc of a goat that they put in the tree.
What the fuck is a goat doing in a tree?
Whatever they felt it needed to be doing. But, yeah. It was a fucking goat statue made out of tin. Sitting in a tree. But, yeah.
That night looks like fucking just like Satan just lounging.
Yeah, that night it looked like a fucking demon. So...
Oh, if it's a goat statue, it probably had the fucking horns.
It did indeed have the horns.
No, okay, what's the next one?
Alright, Chupacabra is another one that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, and if you haven't, well...
Watch more Red versus Blue.
Yeah.
I love that thing. It's like, oh, mythical creatures. What's that Mexican goat sucker? Swimming to Chupacabra? Yeah, Chupa thingy, Griff, how about that?
Now, some of the early reports of these, they are small reptilian humanoids that eat on animals, particularly goats. However, there was a study done, and basically all the wounds consistent with the animals that were killed by the supposed chupacabra are consistent with foxes. So,
I'm not aware of any foxes that you'd find in South America or like around the Mexico area. I know that it's like foxes generally you hear about them being up north.
Or maybe it was coyotes, but
yeah, coyotes like you do hear about like in the South. In fact, I've seen a couple. You don't see them very often, but they're known to like come around, and sometimes at night you'll hear them howling to each other.
Yeah.
From what I understand, they're like pretty harmless to people, but they will fuck up your pets.
yeah.
Like they will eat cats and they'll attack small dogs and try to eat them. But yeah, they're not known for attacking people. But attacking farm life, I guess if there's enough of them together, they would probably think they could take down a goat or two.
Yeah.
Or if they're like one of them was really fucking starving.
But some stories have them with wings, but it's usually a green reptilian body with big red eyes. Now, in America, there was another sighting which people decided to attribute to the chupacabra, and you can see a video from a police dash cam where there's this funky-looking dog. It actually turned out to be like a very rare breed of dog. I think they're called Ozos or something like that, and it had mange.
It's like the thing is like if it's something that looks like a dog, most likely it is a dog or like a coyote or some kind of like dog-like creature.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different sizes, shapes, breeds, like kinds of dogs.
Yeah.
And dogs can get physical, like they can get mange, they can get skin diseases. We once had a Shih Tzu in our family that, man, he got a skin disease and it was bad. His back used to just start bleeding for no reason, and then it would scab up. And if you looked at him, he'd look like just a big-ass furry armadillo because he would form this armored shell on his back that was just a giant scab.
Yeah, and, when you crossbreed dogs, until you've actually done it for a long time, it's not a consistent combination. So it's very easy to see a dog breed and just have no fucking clue what it is.
Also, like, there's also, like, birth defects from inbreeding and stuff like that, especially with, like, purebreds.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a German Shepherd. You can probably look it up. It's a German Shepherd that was once considered to be, like, in the running for ugliest dog. And it was called Quasimodo because it was this German Shepherd that was born with a really heavily curved spine. So it literally looks like a dog that's 1/3 the size it should be. Because its spine is curved that badly. It has this huge hunch. It looks like its head is coming out of its chest. And it generally, like, you see it in a sitting position. And that's what it is. It looks just like a German Shepherd that got mushed really badly. And, like, I imagine if you saw that thing in the dark, you'd think it was some kind of fucking hunchback monster running around. It's like you just fucking saw, like, a furry Schmeagle hauling ass across the street.
Master, is giving Dobby close.
Dude, fuck Dobby. No one likes Dobby. Well, I take that back. There are people that like Dobby. It was like me, I thought, God, he was just, in the first movie they introduced him, and he was an annoying little shit. He kind of redeemed himself later on in the series, but when they first introduced him, he's annoying as balls.
Oh, I prefer him to Shrek. But, I hate
No,
Shrek.
I think you associate Smash Mouth with Shrek too much. I think that's your issue.
Well, there is one bit of redemption, and that's a lot of people will not let Smash Mouth fucking off the hook. they constantly give him shit and batter him on Twitter for the Shrek song. And it's well deserved, and the Shrek song needs to go back to hell where it came from, and y'all need to quit playing it, you fuckers!
Yes, it is popular with the memes. Like that whole Shrek kicking the door down meme. I've seen many a variation of that.
Unfortunately.
One of my favorite ones is like the one that they do to when Darth Vader comes in. Or no, when the Stormtroopers burst their way in the first Star Wars movie. He's just like, he kicks out the door and like, all the rebels start firing on him. Trying to kill him.
He needs to die.
Well, anyway, so yeah, like when I was younger, most of the variations of the chupacabra I saw, like in pictures and whatnot, generally didn't have it looking like it had scales or like a toad-like monster. It generally had fur. They made it look like it was Ren from Ren and Stimpy, except bigger and on a lot of fucking meth. Like all the meth.
I've seen some pictures where it doesn't have fur, but it's got quills. But yeah, that's another thing that really puts the band hammer on it is the sightings are not consistent with what this thing looks like.
Well, then technically it just sounds like it's always something different that people just attribute to it.
Yeah. Now, it's not impossible for there to be some sort of big reptile monster, especially in the areas where they say it came from, but, yeah, find it, please. I want monsters.
It's like one of those big-ass geckos from Fallout. I forget, do they call them rad geckos? I don't remember. They brought them back for Fallout New Vegas, but they were in the original 2 games, or at least they were in Fallout 2, I know that.
I've never really played any of the Fallout, so I couldn't tell you.
You really need to. The first 2 are amazing games. But man, they are worlds different from anything. It's so funny when you see people's like, I love Fallout. I know everything about Fallout. Have you played the first one? No. Have you played the second one? No. Then you don't know shit about Fallout, do you? You're a fucking millennial poser is what you fucking are. Anyway, now that we've alienated our millennial audience, what's the next one?
Alright, another one that's come into popularity recently is called the Mongolian deathworm.
Alright, this is another one I haven't heard anything about, so...
Now, supposedly it looks like a very big earthworm, and it has some sort of what's believed to be a psychic electrical pulse that can kill you at a distance, and that it can also spray a very lethal acid. And this thing lives out in the deserts of Mongolia.
I guess the steppe, as they would call it.
And supposedly just even saying its native name brings bad luck. Now, I don't know what the native name is.
Well, you better not fucking say it, because you'll give our show bad luck.
I think our show already had bad luck. I'm on it.
We're both on it, and we both just ooze bad luck. I can fucking see it.
We could bottle it.
It's like, we could sell it, but I'm pretty sure people would pay us, to not give it to them.
Yeah.
We could use it as a blackmail threat.
There we
Give
go.
us money, or else we will give this to you against your will.
Buy our merch, or we'll send you free bad luck. Send you.
It's like, did you ever see that Harry Potter movie where he makes that liquid luck? Imagine the exact fucking opposite of that.
Yeah, we'll send you some fat sweat and angry saliva.
I don't even want to think about that. And I'm part of that equation. It's like a bottle of dog water.
Ooh, it smells like bacon. Why's my house on fire?
Why are my pets turning inside out?
I didn't know Fluffy could do that.
Who the fuck taught her that?
He's going all sea cucumber on me.
So this is a psychic, like Professor X fucking worm that's like an earthworm but bigger and can spray acid. Now, when they say bigger, how bigger?
There are reports from 2 to 4 feet.
Okay, so like big enough that you'd fucking notice it.
Yeah. And now there are actually big earthworms. I believe there's some in Africa that get up to 2 feet long, but they're also like a baby blue in color.
Now, like, I imagine they're not like scaled up big, they're longer. I imagine they're not like the size of a human bicep.
No, they're basically about the size of a snake, a small snake in most descriptions. Now, I do think there is a viable explanation for it, but the terrain's not in the right place. There's a pink centipede that sprays acid.
Because why not? Animals are assholes anyway. Insects are some of the biggest assholes of the animal kingdom.
Yeah, and I believe they're called the shocking pink centipede. I could be wrong on that name, but shocking pink sticks with me. Either that or that was my wife's new vibrator. Either way.
It reminds me of that episode from SpongeBob with the Alaskan bullworm.
Yeah, either way, they both spray acid, so...
I just imagine like, oh, it's bad. It's not bad enough that the thing can kill you with psychic bullets. Let's have it spray acid too. Why the fuck not? You gave them psychic powers. Why? It's like, well, because they're earthworms, and earthworms suck. We had to give them some step up, you know?
Yeah, it's sort of like the build point system in role-playing games. You take flaws so you can get bonuses and others.
Your flaw, you're a fucking earthworm. Bonus, you have mind bullets.
Fucking mind bullets.
There's a Tenacious D song about that, if I remember correctly.
And then he took a few levels so he could buy himself a cynic spray.
Just for fucking shits and giggles. I'll knock him out with my mind bullets and I'll just start dissolving pieces of them at my leisure.
Now, I don't know where all these pink centipedes live, but I don't think it's in the desert. I think it's a more tropical area. But hey, maybe some of them migrated. Or there's a similar species.
Or maybe there's just people out in that area that are like taking way too much acid, you know?
That is possible. A lot of places where these weird creatures live, they're in small remote villages, and well, the tourism help gets them food on the table. So they keep telling
It's like, quick, make up shit so more people will come here and we can sell our novelty drink hats.
Oh yeah, scientists, please, look for our Bigfoot.
Stay as long as you want. At this hotel. By the way, there's a Bigfoot hunting tax that you'll need to pay. It's like $50,000 a day.
But you're from National Geographic, so you can afford it.
Yeah, really?
You know, maybe that's why they decided to do that Mermaid the Body Found documentary, because it's like, hey, since, you know, we're tired of looking for this bullshit in the woods, let's just make up mermaid stories.
I remember, like, they used to say that, like, sailors that saw mermaids actually saw manatees. And that's always been the running joke ever since I was a kid, that how the fuck can you look at a manatee and say, this is a mermaid?
Well,
especially like when the way they depict mermaid, oh, she was the most beautiful thing I ever saw. I was like, you were drunk and you have been away from women for like decades.
Yeah, I read this one passage from a sailor who supposedly saw mermaids, and his response is they are not as attractive as they are told to be. It's believed he was seeing manatees when he said that.
Now, if you look at a manatee, look at the bottom half of a manatee, you can kind of imagine, okay, I can see how that might be a mermaid, because it's a very long tubular shape that like terminates in a big broad fin. Not exactly the stereotypical mermaid where it's like literally the bottom half of a fish, but like it's got the basic shape down. Like if you saw it in the dark and all you saw was the outline of it, it would match it pretty well.
Especially if you were heavily dosed on rum.
Yeah. Or whatever alcohol you drank to, like, you know, keep from dying. Because water was a very precious commodity, so they drank alcohol or like just anything else because like it'd be a lot cheaper than water.
Yeah.
But like if you saw the front end of it, man.
I mean, like,
those are some fucking beer goggles, man.
the most attractive manatees I've seen, they have the face of a dog, basically, and so that's not very attractive. They have
the face of a sock puppet made of leather. That's literally what it looks like. And it has almost the same texture and consistency of leather as well. With like these sad, please don't hit me eyes. Because I'm guessing, like, you know, that's just like, you know, when you're really fucking drunk and bored, you just beat on these things with rowing oars just to hear them cry. They have that look about them. Like, they're just like the, like, you know, the picked on fat kid of the high school that is the ocean.
Warranty void if seal is broken.
I've seen that picture. It's fucked up. But I'd be lying to you if I said it didn't make me laugh the first time I saw it.
But I know, it is like the most horrible fucking picture of a meme, and I can't help but chuckle a little, and like, I'm cursing myself from the inside out because it's fucking horrible.
Well, isn't that like the basis of our whole fucking show? It's like the say we shit is like not even remotely PG-13, but we have been told it's funny. It's not just us who thinks it's funny. We've been told by third parties before.
At least 5 other people.
Well, more than that for me, but still. Just like maybe 5 other people, like, when we're both in the same place.
I was just being sarcastic, trying to belittle our success.
Oh, trust me, the internet will do that for us.
Yes.
No, there is no problem with that.
The endless vat of humor that is the comment section.
The endless. It's like Butter said in that one episode of South Park. That's a lot of darkness to sort through.
Indeed.
That was such a fucking fun episode. That was just a great season. That whole fucking season was just amazing. But let's see. Now that you've mentioned those, is there any other ones you want to bring up?
Well, another one that I've always found curious about is the Jersey Devil.
I've heard about this, but like it just sounds like too religiously inspired.
There's a couple different legends. But what I actually find most interesting about it is just the level of sightings that there was. And
there's like plenty of pictures you can look up online.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about when they were originally talking about. Back then, I don't think they had cameras. I think they still did like woodcuts for pictures in the newspaper. But yeah, the whole town got wrapped up in the phenomenon. There's some theories that a carnival had basically just lost a kangaroo. That one I don't buy, but who knows? If you've never seen a kangaroo before, and I imagine a lot of these people
like in the fucking 1800s, yeah.
You might get quite freaked out about it.
It's like an angry dog bunny that just keeps kicking me.
But
have you ever seen a kangaroo just fucking square up on something?
Yeah.
That is an intimidating sight, because those, as like kangaroos...
It makes you wonder how strong those tails must be, because they support their whole weight, and they have excellent balance.
It's actually been proven that, like, when a lot of kangaroos will just, like, lay there, they tend to flex to attract females. Like, I've seen some kangaroos that...
I have seen some pictures of some pretty buff-looking
like,
kangaroos.
Some kangaroos are fucking swole. Like, real fucking swole.
Size is the prize.
Swole is the goal. And he fucking got that goal, and he's like, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like I've seen these things that look like... It's like, wow. I was like, I know they're known for kicking, but, like, if this thing wanted to punch you, it would fuck you up, son. It's like, it looks like fucking Dwayne Johnson, just like with a weird bunny head on him. Just like, it's like, literally it's that. They fucking square up on you. It's like, sup, fool?
And they have such tiny arms, too, for them to get us, like, fucking...
What the fuck are they doing? It's like, how do they get that fucking buff? They're not doing push-ups. Are they?
They have, like, vestigial T-Rex arms, but they're fucking ripped.
It's like, just, like, chest muscles and shoulder muscles and, like, biceps. Just, like, fucking put bodybuilders that I've seen to shame.
Yeah, come at me, bro.
It's like, I've seen people that go to the gym daily that, like, that look like fucking bitches. Like, next to a picture of a goddamn kangaroo. That just looks like that because...
I saw a picture of a tiger that looked like it did fucking hate push-ups every day.
I have never heard someone mention something like hate push-ups. That's like shit you do in prison, like when you're gonna wreck someone's shit when you get out.
You just remember your fucking lawyer every day you're in the fucking...
Like you memorized each and every fucking face of each and every one of those jury members. It's like, I got a long memory and a lot of time to work out. Which brings up another question. Why the fuck do they have, like, exercise equipment in, like, prisons? If anything, just give them fatty foods.
Right.
And, like, have, like, TV.
Yeah, just like donuts with fucking chicken skin instead of sprinkles.
It's like, I want my prisoners not to be like, lean and dangerous when they get out of prison. I want them to be sad, fat, and unmotivated.
We're going to show you nothing but what's eating Gilbert Grape every day you're in here, and you're going to eat your fucking donuts with chicken skins.
I'm like, all to have like the health equivalency of Cartman.
So what did we get for our drink? Gravy. You get fucking.
Then again, I know people, probably even you, that would be like commit felonies just to get that as like free food.
Well, fuck it. If you're that useless as a person, go to fucking jail and eat your chicken skin donuts. We don't need you around breathing up the good air.
That'd be funny as like, prisoners.
And now we've lost our prison audience.
Oh yeah, like, they were our biggest fucking sponsors. It's like fucking Folsom Prison. We're gonna do a show there.
Why does Big Tony keep sending me skirts?
Where is he getting them from?
How did he get my address? I mean, Big Tony, I appreciate the
There's
support.
a 400-pound, like 6'10" man named Sandra who wants to dance with you.
I mean, we haven't even put this show on the internet. Big Tony just keeps sending me skirts.
He's got a lot of time to get ahead of the game. All right, getting back on topic. Let's see. One that I've mentioned to you plenty of times that we've talked about, the Flatwoods Monster.
Ah, yes, the Flatwoods Monster.
Now, that some people wouldn't call that a cryptid so much as like an alien sighting, because that's what most people consider it to be, right?
Yeah, but when you actually take a look at the design of the Flatwoods Monster, it's probably the most unique alien design. I don't know a whole lot of people that reported ones that look like that.
All right, for those of you who don't want to look it up online, which I would suggest, because, or if you have a good imagination, here's what the thing essentially looks like based on viewer description and all the pictures that I've seen of it. Imagine something like a humanoid figure with a long flowing skirt that literally like obscures the feet, which gives this creature the appearance of floating above the air. A kind of trapezoidal torso, like almost like as if like someone was wearing like just like a futuristic looking like a chest piece with like flared shoulders. Long, skinny arms that kind of look like they're hanging out in front of them like some sort of fucking zombie, with like long claw-like fingers. A very round, blank head with two big glowing eyes. And the most interesting feature besides the skirt and the floating is the fact that it had like a giant hood in the shape of a spade that came out from behind its shoulders and spanned the entirety of its head for a ways. It literally looks like it's got a giant like spade, like the playing card suit. Like a spade coming out from behind its back, behind its head.
Yeah. In almost every description I've seen of it, they typically describe that collar as a spade. It's sort of like you would imagine high collars for royalty, but
if you've ever seen like a crazy ass picture of like the old Queen Elizabeth.
But the spade of it is fucking huge. It's easily a third of the height than most.
Yeah, it's like usually in the drawings that I've seen, like because apparently like what was it? Some kids saw this in a forest, which is why they call it the Flatwoods Monster.
I think it was an old man. Supposedly it let out some sort of noxious gas that made them sick. I don't know all the details. A little bit rusty on some of the.
I just remember, like, I have a very vivid mental image of like the picture. Supposedly, the way they described it, someone who worked for the paper drew a picture of it, and the guy said, "Yep, that's what I saw." Or the kids, like whoever saw it, said that was a good representation of it. And so, like, this is like a picture that was drawn up that the witness agreed with. It's like, yes, this is what I saw.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it looks very interesting. It doesn't look like anything you'll see other than someone wearing a goofy-ass suit that's going to be fucking around in the woods. And it looks like you wouldn't want to be fucking around in the woods because the long skirt alone is going to get torn the fuck up. and you're gonna get that fucking giant spade hood collar thing stuck in some trees.
Yeah. Now, the bad gas we can attribute to some Taco Bell burritos.
Or like if it was in fact an alien, like maybe some sort of gas gun to like dissuade pursuers.
Yeah.
One thing that I find very interesting is that this particular monster I've seen a lot in video games.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. It makes a lot of appearances and
Japanese culture, like a lot of Japanese video games. I saw it in, I think it's like the final boss in this one video game called.
Hell, the Tonberries from frickin' Final Fantasy kind of look like it without the big spade collar.
Well, it just looks like a little like turtle, like a shellless turtle with little beady eyes, wearing like a long robe with the hood pulled down, holding a lantern and a fucking kitchen knife. That just like fucking walks up on you and then just like stabs you. Like no like Final Fantasy fooling around with like giant magic spells or giant gun blades or buster swords. It just walks up, stabs you in the fucking ribs, and you fucking die. It is the most real shit that you will ever find in a Final Fantasy game. It does not fuck around.
Just every turn it gets a little bit closer, and when it finally gets there, dead.
Yeah, it just sticks you. It doesn't even give you the option of like seeing your hit points. Like it doesn't say 9,999 hit points. It just stick dead.
Yeah.
You're just fucking dead.
Well, I think Space Harrier is probably the most famous for using the flatwood monster. It literally looks like they just colored the picture. In the
that's probably what they fucking did. I've seen it in lots of games. I've seen it in this one, Amagon, for the NES, which is like this fucking weird-ass like NES game that was made by Hudson, I think. I think there was an enemy that looked like it in one of the Ninja Gaiden games. I don't remember for sure. I've seen it in a couple other video games. Point Blank had, which is, if you're not familiar with Point Blank, it's this light gun arcade game done by Namco, where it's like a bunch of these little mini games that use the light guns. And one of them is you get one bullet to shoot one UFO that's zipping across the screen, and you got like 5 seconds to shoot it. And if you do hit it, like this little fucking flatwoods alien falls out of it and lands on the ground in a fucking heap. You mentioned Space Harrier. There's a flatwood monster. Like you said, it looks just like the fucking picture that was in that newspaper.
Yeah, graphically, it actually doesn't look like it belongs. It's like they actually just, colored the picture.
But then again, back in the day when I first saw Space Harrier in the arcades, like, a lot of the creatures in there just looked fucking sketchy. Like the giant stone faces that would just come at you. Like, when you saw them up close, it was like, it's a little bit too fucking real. I don't know what it was, but, like, it just kind of spooked me a little bit as a kid.
As a kid, I was never good at Space Harrier. I just put it in the corner, and it might as well have just immediately said game over. I crashed and burned in that game fucking hard.
I guess the reason, some of the stuff in there, I found kind of creepy looking when I was a kid was the fact that, it just... It's like first you see it way off in the distance, and then it just fucking screams at you. It just comes out, and that sprite just comes up in your face, and when it hits you when you die, you see that super close-up of the sprite as your character drops dead.
Yeah,
and it freezes on that for a second, and it's just jarring.
Screen full of fucking happy teeth.
Yeah, let's see. I've seen it in a couple other video games. I've also seen representations of the Flatwood Monster in a couple of anime and manga as well. With kind of outing myself for having seen various anime and manga.
You bastard!
Yeah, fucking weeaboo is. I don't even know if that's still a fucking thing. I've heard people mention it still.
I've heard of a couple, but I'm not going to out them here.
I don't mean people who are. I mean just the term, it's still being in use.
I haven't seen it in a while, but I'm sure somebody's using it.
Somebody. They're keeping the spirit alive. Just like that fucking Smash Mouth song in the Shrek memes.
Science, take Shrek away.
Let's see, what other fucking cryptids have I heard about? Chupacabra, of course, being in South Texas. You hear about that a lot. We used to scare kids in our neighborhood with that because we had a lot of kids that, English was not their first language. And even if they didn't speak a lot of English, it's like they fucking knew what chupacabra was.
Well, there's actually quite a bunch of Hispanic superstitions. One I hear about a lot is I think they're called El Chusas or something like that. They're like a giant vulture that turns into witches.
That I'm not familiar with. I thought it was like that might just be like like witches, not so much like cryptid vultures that turn into witches, but just like Mexican witches that turn into vultures.
I've actually met people who like swear that they've encountered them. One of my coworkers at a Taco Bell, he actually said that like him and his dad caught one, put it in a cage, and the next day there was a dead old woman in there.
Oh, now you're gonna have fun explaining that to the police.
Yeah.
It's like, you sure you want to be sharing this story right now? It's like, oh yeah, by the way, if you ever come by my house, you stay the fuck out of the back shed. And if you do have to go in the shed for any reason, you do not fucking touch that spot on the ground that doesn't have concrete on it, okay? You fucking stay away from there.
Oh.
It's like, I dug up the foundation here for some reason. What the fuck did I say about my shed?
Hey, stay out of my shed.
Damn, I almost forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. Let's see. Well, I know that in Mexican folklore, this isn't a cryptid, but what the fuck? Curanteras, which are essentially like medicine women. There's like some people consider them witches, some people consider them medicine women. It generally determines on like whether or not they're helping you or not. If they're not helping you, they're witches. If they are helping you, they're medicine women. And like all those old fucking like Mexican wives' tales, like oh, if you have like athlete's foot, just have your family pee on your foot. It's like, yeah, because I want that to happen. It's like, oh, get rid of athlete's foot. I'd rather fucking have the athlete's foot than have my mom and my dad piss on my feet. Okay?
Mom, you need to drink some more orange juice. This ain't working.
Or like, stuff like, like I have a wart. Well, just lick this frog. It's like, no, that sounds like I'll get more. Or stuff like, if like you think you have bad luck, and like, here, put this raw egg under your bed. And it's like, well, that's wasting food. And that's how you fucking get ants. Do you want ants? Because that's how you get ants. Let's see. I guess more Mexican folklore was it. The crying woman. There's like a name in Spanish for it, but I don't remember what it is.
I know of one called like La Lorena. I don't know all the details. About
like supposedly the story was that it's like a woman whose husband cheated on her or something like that. And there's variations of it. Some of it was like a woman who was jilted by her husband or her lover. And so she took her children down to the river on a stormy night and drowned them while she was crying.
I think that's La Lorena.
And then there's like other ones where like her husband died, so she drowned her children and then herself so that they could all be a family in the afterlife. I've heard versions where it's just like, oh, this woman drowned, and so because the dead like, death likes company, she goes out and drowns children so that she can have a large family to take care of in the afterlife. Bitch, just fuck a ghost. I guess they have to come up with excuses of why there's so many dead children in Mexico, which like raises a lot of fucking questions about appropriate parenting. Or maybe it is that like there just is so much shit not to do in Mexico that whenever there's rain, kids just feel compelled to like, play in fucking storm drains.
I don't know. I've never lived in Mexico. I visited there once. There was a man delivering like those wafer candies to a store, and he gave me and my friend 2 packages, and we ate them, and we were happy and sugared and.
That's you're saying, like, he was giving wafer candies to the store. I mean, he was getting wafer cookies and shipping them to the store, and he saw us out here, and he gave us some heroin. And we had it, and we were happy for that moment. There was a lot of itching and crying afterwards, but
Well, there was a lot of itching and crying. It was Mexico.
I've only been there once, and I swear to God, like when I looked up at the border, it was brown on the Mexican side and blue on the green on the American side. Not on the ground, in the fucking sky. Like the border extended all the way up to the sky. Like the wall only went up like so high, but like when you looked up in the sky, it's just over here it's brown and over here it's blue. And it was probably just my imagination or something because I was a kid, because I was young. But fuck if that didn't stick with me.
I don't remember a whole lot about my trip to Mexico. I was only like 5 or 6 at the time. I remember the vanilla wafers, and I also remember there was a street vendor selling these neat-looking crosses, and I wanted to get one as a souvenir, and my mom said no, and the friend that actually convinced us to go to Mexico said that they were cursed. And
because it's like that one video that one guy did where it's like, the best way to get rid of a curse is to try to sell it to other people. Curses for, like, misery and profit.
Yeah. And yeah, that's it. I didn't get my cross, but I got my vanilla wafers. So
I don't remember why we went there. I think we just went there like as for a day trip. We were there in Mexico for a couple of hours. We literally did not leave sight of the border. That's how close we stayed. And then we just bombed on back across the border, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, I remember we were supposed to stay the night, but for some reason we didn't. We bombed out of there pretty fast. I have no idea why we took the trip. I just remember it was a really long drive, and I got my vanilla wafers, but didn't get my cross.
Those crosses are cursed. Isn't that like the opposite of what crosses are supposed to do?
I think that was just what they said, so we would quit being interested in the crosses.
And it's like, that's like a Mexican thing. It's like, it's like you don't want your kids to have to want something to buy. It's like, oh, it's cursed. If you buy it, you'll die. It's like, oh, wow. It's like, just like for some reason all the candy in Mexico is cursed.
You'll go to hell before you die.
Who the fuck are you, Lou Albano?
I wish. I'd be a lot richer and have more kidneys.
You'd also be a lot deader.
Yeah, well, had a good run.
Let's see, yeah, man, we were really swayed off the topic of cryptids, but I guess while we're talking about it, I should mention that one weird show that only lasted like 2 fucking seasons on Cartoon Network. Mm-hmm. I mentioned before that I haven't had cable television since 2008, and before I lost it, there's this one show on Cartoon Network called The Secret Saturdays and the Search for the Cryptid Cur.
Yeah, I remember those. I never watched any of them because I saw some of the previews and it was just like, this is bad. But
well, I remember watching the previews and them just being vague as fuck. And the name was vague as fuck, like The Secret Saturdays. So what? This is Saturdays that no one knows about?
Are these bonus Saturdays?
It's like, kids can have Saturdays, but if you're in the fucking know, you can have an extra Saturday. It's The Secret Saturdays. It's like, well, fucking yeah, I'm all for a 3-day weekend every fucking weekend. Bring that shit up.
Yeah, fuck school.
But and then the quest for the cryptid cur is well, for one thing, it what do they call that? Like when something starts with the same letter, like Ollie Ollerson or there's a name for that in grammar, and I don't fucking remember what it is.
That's what Stanley did with the names of his characters.
He did that because he was afraid he was going to forget them. If you've seen an interview with Stan Lee, he literally says I named my characters Reed Richards, Peter Parker, Jonah Jameson, and what?
Bruce Banner.
Yeah, Bruce Banner and shit like that. Because he said that he was honestly he sucked with names and he couldn't remember names very well. So when he knew that fans were going to be coming up to him and asking him about characters, and he honestly didn't want to sound like an idiot, or someone's talking to him about Spider-Man, and they mention Peter Parker, and he has no fucking idea what they're talking about. It's Peter Parker? It's oh my god, are you you're an imposter!
Eat his legs!
So he said he did that on purpose. Yeah, damn it, this thing fell. So he said he did it on purpose, and I'm well, I can approve of that, because I have shit memory too. I love human explanations for stuff like that. It's people think oh, the creator did this for this, and he did this to symbolize that, and they say, no, I just did it because of It's like some like really basic bitch thing,
Yeah.
like explanation. But going back to that show, The Secret Saturdays, like the whole plot of it was that it was a family of cryptid like collectors. Like they logged cryptids. In fact, what they had like a pet Sasquatch that like watched over their kid.
Yeah.
It's like you better fucking trust that fucking Sasquatch to like leave it in the leave your kid in its custody when you're fucking around and leaving your kid behind. And then like when the first episode, they also get like this weird pterodactyl like slash bird thing that ends up staying with the family. I love how like the thing doesn't love the family, just sticks around because they feed it. And like often like they try to get it to do stuff for them, and like most of the time it doesn't give a shit because it's a wild fucking animal. It's like it helps them mildly some of the time because they give it food, and that is it. And I thought that was kind of funny. But they were going up against this guy named VV Argost or something like that, who was this fucking vampire wannabe dude who actually had like a horror show, like like a Grandpa Munster or like a Svengoolie or an Elvira type show where he would host like horror movies. And so like this is the villain. He literally like hosts like horror shows like on the weekends and shit. It's like where he is. But like the whole point is like they're trying to save cryptids, and this asshole like captures them so he can weaponize them. Like all of his weapons were like rare fucking creatures that he weaponized. Like I think he might have actually had like Mongolian death worms that he would throw, and like they would shoot acid, and he'd throw them like fucking throwing darts at people.
Interesting.
Yeah, he didn't use guns or knives or anything like that. Everything he used was like, a rare poison from some sort of cryptid, or like, like I said, like, acid spewing worms or highly venomous like cryptid wasps the size of your head, or just some crazy ass shit that would kill the hell out of you if it got at you.
Yeah. Now, on another note, for those of you that are into cryptozoology and you do, in fact, believe in any of these monsters or things that we haven't discussed, I'm not trying to dissuade you. By all means, continue believing what you're believing, fight the good fight to keep science interested in these things. In just my age, science has convinced me that this stuff isn't around. And I could be absolutely wrong. And I would actually like to be wrong. I want my Sasquatch back. But at this point, I'm just kind of convinced with what science has had to say. They've dumped enough proof, and cryptozoology has not provided enough.
Now, on that note, it's like, sorry to cut you off there, but just
no, that's fine.
It makes me think of like all this cool stuff that science has found that would have been a cryptid if someone had found it before that. We were watching a video of like this deep sea exploration sub, and it came across something that I think people have dubbed either the Squidward squid or the Zoidberg squid. And that when scientists came across it, it was this weird squid with these giant cartoon as fuck looking eyes that just got paralyzed with fear when like the big shining light of like the sub came on it.
Oh, that little purple one we saw?
Yeah, like, and they said like it was like literally a new type of like squid or something that the scientists had found.
And they immediately mocked it.
You saw what that thing looked like.
Yeah, it looked like a fucking child's toy.
Like literally they saw it and they honestly thought, honest to God, that it was like a kid's toy that had like sunk to the bottom of the fucking ocean. And then they were looking at it and they noticed that it was like just barely moving, and they realized that it was alive. It just didn't want to move because it was probably scared. Because when you're used to living on the bottom of the ocean
in complete darkness.
In complete darkness where there is no fucking light, and some asshole floats over and like slams like a fucking like 100,000 candle power spotlight directly at you.
Yeah, The squid's probably fucked up for the rest of its life.
It might have killed it. That might have been like why it didn't move very much. Because I imagine if you're that sensitive to light, I do know that like high amounts of light can kill certain like deep sea creatures, like what is it, like a mogwai?
Just red light.
Sunlight will kill it. And it's like, oh, what if we just stick its arm out there? Like if it was like that would have been a really fucking messed up movie if like the main character was sadistic or something. Let's just stick its foot out. I want to see what happens. It's like it's not fucking Dracula. It's like a fuzzy little thing. And I love like how in the second one they literally put in like all those questions that like people had as plot holes for like the first one. Like, what if you're like on a plane that's going across various time zones? How does it know if it's being fed after midnight? They literally put shit like that in the movie just to fuck with the fans that said that. And this was before the fucking internet was a thing, too. But God, let's see. Anything else cryptid related that we can think of? Well, actually, one thing I could mention that's fun is like some cryptids you'll actually see in shit like role-playing games. We've talked about role-playing games before.
Yeah.
And like a lot of like games like Dungeons and Dragons or they generally look at like mythology to like find their creatures. And one can argue that like mythical creatures are the first cryptids.
Yeah.
Like dragons, cyclopses, centaurs, shit like that. Goblins, gnomes, trolls. Those could all technically be considered cryptids.
And in some cases, they are actually considered cryptids. There's like a subcategory to cryptids called mythical creatures. But
Because didn't you say that the Flatwoods monster was like in one like monster manual that you had somewhere?
somewhere I've got it. There's one monster manual I have. It has sea serpents, Sasquatch, Moth Man, spring-heeled Jack, chupacabras. It even has aliens in there.
Oh God, like what's we've kind of left out like one of the most notorious cryptids, and that's the jackalope.
The jackalope. Well, the common theory with that is I think the disease is called chope, and it's basically causes you to grow these gnarly growths on your body, which kind of resemble horns. Mostly what I know a jackalope for is the America's Funniest Home Videos used to have a segment where they would have a jackalope that would go around being an asshole. And they would always end the segment with them ramming somebody in the ass, screaming right in the butt.
Wow, I don't remember that at all, and I remember watching the first episode of America's Funniest Home Videos. You want to talk about old school? That show is like crazy old school. God, I kind of miss those days, like, you know, gathering around the TV like once a week and watching just terrible, like fucking, like goofy ass home movies.
Yeah.
And like you could always tell when they were made because like you always saw that on old VHSs. For those of you who are millennials and don't know what the fuck a VHS recorder is, like old like camcorders, they would always put the timestamp on like one of the corners of the video, and so you always knew whereabouts this video was taken.
Yeah.
I remember the original set used to look like a cutout of like a house. So it looked like you're literally sitting in like a living room watching home videos. I remember the old fucking theme song. I guess I just kind of grew out of that show. But yeah, in Texas, jackalopes are kind of famous because I can't think of like any old-timey Texas place that doesn't have a jackrabbit with like small deer horns glued to its fucking head. Like mounted on like a fucking wall somewhere.
Yeah, you'll see them in like old gas stations, old antique shops,
Bars, taverns, yeah, but like yeah, like restaurants and gas stations, antique shops, definitely. It kind of became like a taxidermy thing. Like if you're a taxidermist, you weren't worth your weight in like animal parts unless you had made at least one jackalope. mount.
Yeah. Another popular taxidermy for cryptids was actually mermaids. They would take small monkeys and fuse them to fish.
Yeah, so like, as if like manatees weren't that far away from mermaids to begin with. Let's get like an angry furry monkey, because like the monkeys always look pissed as fuck, and just stick it to like a dead fish corpse. And the things are generally no bigger than like your forearm. Is like, and they're generally like pickled punks, and they used to have them at sideshows and shit.
Oh, that's another one you can kind of discuss, is pickled punks. Most of the time, they're actually fake. They're inspired by real ones, but
well, it's not like like abnormal births or abnormal abortions and stuff like that. Of like wildly deformed fetuses are just so rare that every sideshow can have like a dozen of them.
Yeah, well, actually, in most cases, it's illegal to display human body parts without a special license. And so they'll get like rubber ones, and the nickname for them is bouncers, because when you shake the jar, they'll bounce, unlike a real one. And
I don't want to shake those jars of the real ones.
but yeah, there's like a heavy fine associated with displaying real body parts, so you better hope it bounces if it's getting checked by somebody.
I'm not going to unscrew the lid and take this thing out and try to fucking Super Bowl it off the pavement. Because if it's real, oh man, I don't even want to think about that. I just made myself sick. And on that note, I think we better call it. We passed the hour mark some time ago. It's really becoming that like an hour 20 or an hour 30 is becoming the average length of these recordings, which, you know what, is like you don't have to listen to the whole damn thing, but like if you can stick around to the end, consider that an achievement. In fact, put in the fucking comments section that you managed to stick around to the end, if you stuck around to the end.
Yeah.
Or just, I don't know, just comment something useful, something helpful. I don't know, like any cryptids that we didn't mention, any cryptids. Hell, make up some.
Cryptids that you'd like us to talk about.
Like as usual, like we will talk about the same subjects multiple times if we have something new to say about it.
Yeah.
Or like if we're talking about something else and we go off on a fucking tangent, as we did plenty on this one. But still, hopefully you enjoyed it. And once again, I finally got the software I need to start like editing this shit so I can put it up on YouTube. So hopefully I'll get off my lazy ass and start doing that. So until next time, for all of you that are, stay fat and stay angry and come back again and listen to our audio sideshow.
Eat chicken skin donuts.